Oops. Hello, everybody. All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Mikestand. Welcome to, of course, I am the most host on the West Coast. I play with that a little bit, play with the title thing a little bit there. So hopefully everybody's having a good holiday week thus far. Of course, today is Tuesday, November 26th, 2024. Of course, going to give people a chance to come in before we get started. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. Savage land as never before. Total destruction from mountain to shore. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. If you guys haven't already, if you guys can help out by liking and sharing. Oh boy. Anyway, I've got a low signal here. Um, if you guys haven't already, if you guys can help out by liking and sharing the stream, see if we get some more friendly people in here to engage. That'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions. I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. Look, we have 3 people in here now. I guess I will. I guess I will start a little bit early here and talk a little bit about what's on tap for tonight. So tonight we're gonna actually take a look back to probably a series many of us grew up watching. For those of us who grew up back in the '80s, cartoon series that ran on Saturday mornings on NBC, the Smurfs. You're looking at back at that show and look at its history a little bit as we, as I again couldn't really find much to talk about. This is a holiday week, so we know there's probably there probably hasn't been much going on. Everybody's basically more focused on getting ready for turkey dinner in a couple nights here. But tonight we will be looking at going back and looking back at the 1980s Smurfs cartoon. Also, we will of course have the wrestling wrap up, get caught up on last night's Monday Night Raw, as well as look forward to tonight's NXT. TNA had some. TNA had some news, and of course, they also again AEW announced the participants in their Continental Classic, in which kind of a round robin tournament they started last year. This year, of course, Kazuchika Okada, who is currently the AEW Continental Champion, will be defending the title in this round robin tournament against potentially 11 other men. There are 6 men in the blue bracket, 6 men in the gold bracket. So we will, of course, talk a little bit about that. As I said, TNA had a signing, as of course WWE and TNA also are preparing for big events this weekend, with TNA, having Turning Point on Friday and WWE having Survivor Series on Saturday. Let's see. Let's do something real quick. And one more thing before we try one more time to see if I can garner up some All right. So, anyways, let's see now. All right. Well, I guess we'll go ahead and get started on our topic at hand here. Of course, the Smurf thing is the only thing we're going to be going over in terms of story wise or article wise, as it were. Of course, for those of you who may not know, the Smurfs is actually based on a Belgian comic series called the Schwumps. um, is originally created by Peyo. So why don't we go ahead and get started here? As I said before, if you haven't already, you guys can help out by liking and sharing the stream. See if we can get some more friendly people here to engage. That'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions, and I will try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. So, with all that being said, of course, the Smurfs 1981 series. The Smurfs, syndicated as Smurfs Adventures, is an animated fantasy comedy children's television series that originally aired on NBC from September 12th, 1981 to December 2nd, 1989. For a cartoon, 8 years like that, that's a pretty long time. And it is, um, and of course you can catch it now, of course, on, you can catch this particular series on MeTV Tunes, so let's see. Produced by Hanna-Barbera Productions, it is based on the Belgian comic series of the same name, created by Belgian cartoonist Peyo, who also served as story supervisor of this adaptation, and aired for 256 episodes with a total of 417 stories, excluding 3 cliffhanger episodes and 7 special episodes. Among those special episodes include some Christmas specials that will be coming up here in the next few weeks here on MeTV Tunes. So let's look at the history here. In 1976, Stuart R. Ross, an American media and entertainment entrepreneur who saw the Smurfs while traveling in Belgium, entered into an agreement with Editions Dupuis and Peyo, acquiring North American and other rights to the characters, whose original name was Les Strumps. Strumps. Subsequently, Ross launched the Smurfs in the United States in association with a California company, Wallace Berry and Company, whose figurines, dolls, and other merchandise became hugely popular success. Hey, Devil. Hey, Rex. Thanks for popping in, my friend. Yeah, I'm going over the Smurfs cartoon show from back in the 80s. You might want to stick around. Some interesting stuff here. It's also based, don't know if you knew this or not, but the Smurfs was actually based on a Belgian comic series by the same name, essentially. So anyways, as we continue on here, let's see. NBC president Fred Silversmith's daughter, Melissa, had a Smurf doll of her own, and that he had bought for her at a toy shop while they were visiting Aspen, Colorado. Silverman thought that a series based on the Smurfs might make a good addition to the Saturday morning cartoon lineup. Yeah, I mean, kind of a interesting one. Kind of a you see these blue little creatures, running around and all that. And each of their names actually depicts kind of somewhat their personalities and all that. The Smurfs, produced by Hanna-Barbera Productions in association with SEP International SA from 1981 to 1987 and La Figue SA in the years 1980-89, debuted on NBC at 8:30 a.m. in 1981. The series became a major success for the network. In parentheses here, one of the few hits to emerge from the Silverman era, unparentheses, and one of the most successful and longest running Saturday morning cartoons in television history. I mean, 8 years, for a Saturday morning cartoon. Most Saturday morning cartoons, I think, only last 1 or 2 seasons, usually. So any time you have one that lasts more than 2 seasons, that's worth talking about. Let's see. Spawning 7 spin-off television specials on an almost yearly basis. The characters included Papa Smurf, Smurfette, Brainy Smurf, the evil Gargamel, and Azrael and Johann and his friend it was pronounced Pee-wee, but it's spelled Pee-wit here, but it was pronounced Pee-wee. Papa Smurf, who I believe was voiced by Don Messick. Smurfette by Lucille Bliss. Brainy Smith by Danny Goldman. Gargamel by Paul Winchell. Paul Winchell, of course, also known for his work as Dick Dudley. Don Messick, who voiced Papa Smurf. Of course, Scooby-Doo, Astro, Ranger Smith, Lucille Bliss, Danny Goldman, and his cat Azrael might have been, as far as I know, I think Azrael might have been voiced by Frank Welker, more than likely. The Smurfs was nominated multiple times for Daytime Emmy Awards and won Outstanding Children's Entertainment Series in 1982-83. I believe they're talking about the 82-83 TV season, that is, starting in September of 82 and ending in May of. La 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 la. I watched it. God help me. Yeah, I mean it's a cute little series. It's a cute little series that can be quite entertaining, quite quite wholesome in a way too. Let me see now. Oh yeah. By 1989, the show was in its 9th season and had reached the 200 episode threshold, an extreme rarity when most cartoons were gone after 2 seasons and 22 episodes. Yep, that's kind of what I was talking about. It also far exceeded the typical 65 episode run of a first run syndicated show of the era. Now, if you remember too, many of the first run syndicated shows like He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, She-Ra, Challenge of the GoBots, G.I. Joe, Transformers, Care Bears. Many of these shows, would run 5 days a week, So the Smurfs obviously had something going for them to where they could show like hour blocks for the next few years. In an effort to come up with new ideas to keep the show fresh, NBC changed the format of the show, taking some of the Smurfs out of the forest and omitting the Smurf village. These changes were adopted to a Lost in Time format, similar to the Time Tunnel. At the same time, NBC had a hit with the primetime series Quantum Leap, starring, of course, Scott Bakula and Dean Stockwell, which also dealt with time travel, in end parentheses there. The show continued through the end of the season, airing the last original episode December 2nd, 1989 on NBC. After a decade of success, NBC later canceled The Smurfs, along with other Saturday morning cartoons, to make way for another block of live-action programming on April 9th, 1990. Basically, at that point, you did start to see, some of the, granted, it was still very early on. It'd still be about another 20 years or so before the whole idea of Saturday morning cartoons actually fully died out. But This was at a point when they were starting to move towards like live action teen programming. Of course, it's around the time that Saved by the Bell was coming on, and some of the other shows, with that. So the total number of individual 11-minute and 22-minute cartoons in the entire series came to 417. So the 11-minute ones were like the ones where you'd have some episodes that used up the entire 22 minutes. That's about 22 to about 22, 21, 22 minutes is about what most shows ran, without commercials, right? If you just had just the show and no commercials, no like stoppage, then you had some that were just one episode that ran the whole 22 minutes. You had others that were like two episodes of 11 minutes each. So episodes, again, 20 in the first season, 26, 39 episodes were from September to December. And, so see here. And you had 7 specials in there too. And of course, the voice casting characters of the Smurfs. Some of the well-known voice actors who lent their voices to Smurfs include, of course, Charlie Adler, Jack Angel, Rene Aubert-Juanois, Michael Bell, Greg Berger, Lucille Bliss, Susan Blue, Shorel Book lent his voice to it. Of course, Shorel Book, those of you may not remember, was Boss Hogg in The Dukes of Hazzard. Ruth Buzzy, William Calloway, Hamilton Kemp, Roger C. Carmel. Those of you Star Trek fans might remember him as Harry Mudd. Also lent his voice to some Transformers cartoons, including voicing Motomaster and Bruticus and Transformers. Of course, you had Mary Jo Catlett in there, but she was who of course was Pearl Gallagher on Different Strokes. William Christopher lent his voice. William Christopher from MASH fame, Father Mulcahy, Philip L. Clark, Townsend Henry Cordone, who had taken over the role of Fred Flintstone in after Alan Reed's passing in 1977. Peter Cullen, who lent his voice to Smurfs, of course, as Optimus Prime from Transformers. Walker Edmondson, June Foray lent her voice. She was Jokey Smurf and Gargamel's mother in Mother Nature. Let's see, the late great Linda Gary. Let's see, Ed Gilbert, Baloo from Tailspin, as well as Tyrion. Phil Hartman lent his voice to the show. Tony, and I don't, even though I haven't got there yet. Tress McNeil, or Tress McNeil rather. Mona Marshall, Julie McWhirter, also known as Julie McWhirter Deese, the wife of Rick Deese. Alan Melvin, a longtime voice, of course, known for his role as Barney on All in the Family, and Ralph the Butcher on Brady Bunch. Also lent his voice to many Hanna-Barbera characters, including Magilla Gorilla. Pat Music, Noel North, who of course was one of the voices of Daphne from Alan Oppenheimer, Rob Paulson, Henry Pollack Jr., the second. Robert Ridgely, who was also Thundar the Barbarian. Will Ryan, Michael Rye, Ronnie Shell, Hal Smith, who voiced Santa Claus in a number of Hanna-Barbera Christmas specials. John Stevenson, longtime voice actor, known for his work. George Takei actually lent his voice to it. Russi Taylor, who we just talked about yesterday. Of course, the longtime voice of Minnie Mouse, opposite her husband Wayne Allred. Janet Waldo as Hagatha here. Janet Waldo, of course, Judy Jetson. Name B.J. Ward, who of course provided the voice of Scarlet in G.I. Joe, as well as Ariel and Voltron. Lenny Weinrib as Big Mouth. Frank Welker, Paul Winchell, as I said, Gargamel in the first 8 seasons, and he also, of course, formerly did the voice of Dick Dastardly as well. Jonathan Winters, Alan Young. Outsourced production work was done by Wang Film Productions, Cuckoo's Nest Studios, and only for season 7 by Toei Animation. And they did use a lot of classical music, for background music and all that. The background music for the Smurfs was composed by Hoyt Curtin, Hanna-Barbera's primary musical director, but Curtin's work on the series is noted for its frequent use of classical music as themes or leitmotifs. Notable classical works exerted in the Smurfs include, of course, some of Bach's works, Beethoven's. I'm going to go through all that. Syndication. A half-hour version for syndication was broadcast under the title Smurfs Adventures since 1986. Although each season had its own unique opening song during the original broadcast, syndicated airings usually used a shortened version of the season 4 opening. The series aired on Cartoon Network and Boomerang until April 7th, 2023. On August 7th, 2023, the series began airing on Discovery Family and on MeTV Tunes on the 25th of June, 2024. Home media, so in 2020, HBO Max is season 1 through 4 on its streaming platforms. Let's see. And then apparently they did a reboot of the show in 2021. Let's see now. In 2017, the Belgian company Imps and Dupuis Audiovisual had production on an updated Smurf series with CG animation similar to Smurfs: The Lost Village. The series made its world premiere on RTB's OUFEV channel in Belgium on April 18, 2021. It premiered on Nickelodeon and Nicktoons in September 21 in the US, with other international markets following suit. So we still got a few minutes, so what I think I will do is maybe I will go back up and we'll kind of take a quick peek at some of the characters from the Smurfs, just to remind everybody who sure some of you have, I'm sure many of you have your favorites. we'll kind of go through and all right, that's an episode. We didn't want the episode. We wanted the list of Smurfs characters. Okay, so this is a list of the Smurfs characters appearing in the original comics, the 1980s cartoon, the 2011 movie, as well as the sequels in the 2021. We're going to just focus on the ones in the cartoon, obviously. The Smurfs were also sold as collectible toys, and many of these characters were ideal from manufacturing and marketing points of view, in that they had the same basic body plan, um, but could be differentiated by one or two distinguishing accessories. Amount of Smurfs, according to Spiro magazine, in degree 1954 from 1964, there are 100 Smurfs in total. This does not take into account later additions from the Smurfs comic books and films. Although the Smurfs were fairly undifferentiated in the beginning, over time, where the story required it, very specific Smurfs emerged. For example, the character Smurfette was introduced in the 1967 album The Smurfette and disappeared definitely again at the end of that story. Only after she was reintroduced in the 1981 TV series, Smurfette became a regular character and even one of the protagonists. As kind of the lone, as for majority of the time, as essentially the lone female Smurf, that did cause a few interesting scenarios there. Of course, you'd later have Sassette and Granny Smurf or Nanny Smurf introduced in the series as well. But let's get into Smurfette. Of course, in the 1981 series, Smurfette was voiced by Lucille Bliss. She was a female Smurf created by Gargamel. She was originally had black hair and ugly appearance, but when Papa Smurf made her into a real Smurf, her hair became blonde with a beautiful appearance. Before the Smurflings created Sassette, Smurfette was the only female Smurf in the Smurf village. So, and of course, voiced by Lucille Bliss. Smurfette was again the lone female Smurf, the eye candy for the other Smurfs. Let's see. I won't go. I'm not going to try to go through all of them. Just some of the main ones. Papa Smurf, who was voiced in the 1981 series by Don Messick. Basically, Elder Smurf. Brainy Smurf, the smart aleck. Voiced by Danny Goldman in the 1981 series. Robert Axelrod did his voice in the Smurfs and the Magic Flute. Clumsy Smurf, voiced by William Calloway. And you had Hefty Smurf, who was voiced. Michael Sorge did his voice in the Smurfs and the Magic Flute, but Frank Welker that was one of the times that he Grouchy Smurf, voiced by Michael Bell, and the Handy Smurf, voiced by Michael Bell. Jokey Smurf, as we previously mentioned, voiced by June Foray, but I think Ronnie Shell also came in and did his voice on a few occasions. Greedy Smurf. Now, Greedy Smurf, who was voiced by Hamilton Camp. Here's the thing about Greedy. Okay, so I'll read. I'm going to read this one. Just simply this thing because I think there is a special notation. I think for the TV series, for the 81 series, they combined two other Smurfs to actually create Greedy here. So Greedy is an exceptionally gluttonous Smurf. He has exceptional interest in eating cakes and other pastry. Greedy usually cannot seem to help himself, and he is often chased by Chef Smurf for stealing snacks and food. In the 1981 series, this character was combined with that of both Chef Smurf and Baker Smurf, where he enjoys baking and cooking, but eventually ends up eating his own creations. Yeah, I do remember reading that a while back. That the Greedy Smurf in 1981 was a combination of the original Greedy Smurf from the comics, along with Chef and Baker Smurf. Basically, he was the kitchen. Greedy Smurf ended up being the kitchen Smurf who would end up eating his own stuff. Um, so yeah. So and then we just talked about, of course, Chef Smurf, Vanity Smurf, voiced by Alan Oppenheimer, Lazy Smurf, voiced by Michael Bell in the 1981 series. Lazy Smurf was the laziest of all the Smurfs. He's always trying to catch a nap anytime he could. Harmony Smurf, the tone deaf Smurf, voiced by Hamilton Camp. Farmer Smurf, Alan Young. Alan Young, who of course also provided the voice of Scrooge McDuck in DuckTales. And he was also Seven Zark 7 in the Fred Ladd Productions adaptation of Gatchaman, the one that we all knew as Battle of the Planets. So let's see. Then you had Poet Smurf, Painter Smurf, Scaredy Smurf, Sloppy Smurf, Tracker voiced by Henry Pollock II, who of course I believe was on Perfect Strangers, as well as providing the voice. One of the two guys provided the voice of Scarecrow in Batman and the DC Animated Universe's Batman. Baby Smurf, voiced by Julie McWhirter. Nat Smurfling, formerly known as Natural Smurf. So Joey Carmen did his voice as the adult. Charlie Adler's so originally a full-grown Smurf known as Natural Smurf. He had his age reversed in an accident with Father Time's reverse clock, becoming a Smurfling in season 5. He is very friendly and kind-hearted towards his fellow Smurfs and fellow Smurflings and the animals in the forest. He wears light brown overalls, a straw hat, and is always barefoot. Similar to some depictions of hillbillies. Snappy Smurfling. Had okay. Bratty, rude, and reckless. And you had Slouchy Smurfling. So the Smurflings all came about from an accident with Father Time. And you had Sassette Smurfling. The Sassette was created by the Smurflings as a sister for Smurfette. Like Smurfette, Sassette was evil at first, as she was created using Gargamel's original spell. But with a Smurf-sized lump of magical blue clay, Papa Smurf used the same spell on her that he had used on Smurfette to make her a real Smurf, although in the comics she was never evil after being created. Sassette is a young Smurf, female Smurfling with red hair and pigtails. Had Grandpa Smurf, voiced by the late great Jonathan Winters. So that's pretty much a lot of the main Smurfs that we just went over there. Obviously, wouldn't want to try. We're now at the 35-minute mark. So I think I am going to start to move on here. But it's good to go back and take a look at some of these cartoons that we all kind of grew up on. Smurfs is a pretty pretty good one at that. So what I'm going to do now here, now that we're at kind of the 35-minute mark, I'm going to start with the wrestling wrap up here. As of course both TNA and WWE in particular are getting ready for this weekend's pay-per-views they'll be doing. Of course, on last night's as last night was the go home Raw before this Saturday's Survivor Series. Here's what all that went down on last night's Monday Night Raw. So the Creed brothers, known as part of their in a tornado tag team match, the Team American made of the Creed brothers, Brutus and Julius Creed, defeated the LWO, Dragon Lee and Rey Mysterio. In a non-title match, Braun Breaker took on Ludwig Kaiser, and Kaiser defeated him via DQ. In a match for the WWE World Tag Team, that I believe that they used that in that non-title match to set up a three-way between Braun Breaker, Sheamus, and Ludwig Kaiser for the WWE Intercontinental Champion. Breaker is the current Intercontinental Champion at this point. Let me see. A Judgment Day of Finn Balor and JD McDonough defended the WWE World Tag Team titles over the War Raiders of Eric and Ivar and retained. Akira Tozawa and Otis of Alpha Academy defeated the New Day as Kingston and Xavier Woods as they're coming up on next week's new celebration, New Day's 10-year existence. They've been hinting at a possible split with the team for a while now, with people getting frustrated. And then in a non-title War Games advantage match, Bianca Belair defeated Nia Jax, which what I believe now Nia Jax, of course, is the current WWE Women's Champion. What I believe happened here is Bianca Belair essentially got the War Games advantage for her team for this Saturday's event. So basically, in a War Games match, you start out with two people with one person from each opposing team coming in at intervals. So that's where this match came about. Also, Raw also debuted or announced that they would be having a women's Intercontinental title now be on Monday Night Raw. The tournament to crown the first Intercontinental title will be starting in December, starting this next Monday, December 2nd, as I understand it. Of course, over on SmackDown, they're already in a tournament to crown the first women's United States champion. So now the women have their own secondary titles. The United States title for SmackDown and the Intercontinental title for Raw. Now, also for tonight's NXT, we will look ahead to what to look forward to on tonight's NXT episode. As if there is an episode tonight. Yeah, today. Let's see now. Yeah, there it is. Tonight's NXT episode that will be from the WWE Performance Center, live on the CW. You will see in an Iron Survivor Challenge match. Former NXT champion Ethan Page will be defending against one half of the, or be taking on one half of the NXT tag team champions Axiom. In the women's qualifying match, Julia takes on Kalani Jordan. Fallon Henley defends the NXT Women's North American title versus Tatum Paxley. She'll have, of course, JC Jane and Jasmine Nix in her corner. Tony D'Angelo will be defending the NXT North American title against Shawn Spears on tonight's episode of NXT. So also now moving on, now that we went through all the WWE news, now for some AEW news, of course. They did over the last few days announce the participants in the upcoming Continental Classic, in which Kazuchika Okada will be in essence defending the Continental Championship in a round robin tournament. That will take place over the next month here. That will the finals of said tournament will be held at World's End at the end of the month here. Let's see. In the blue league bracket, you have, of course, the champion Kazuchika Okada, Kyle Fletcher, Mark Briscoe, who participated in last year's Continental Classic, the Beast Mortos, Shelton Benjamin, and another participant in last year's tournament, Danny Garcia, who's coming off of his big win over Jack Perry to become the new TNT champion. And the Gold League, the Gold League side of it, you have Will Ospreay. Claudio Castagnoli makes his return to the Claudio Castagnoli and Brody King will make their return to the tournament this year. Also announced as participating in the tournament, Juice Robinson, Darby Allin, and I'm trying to remember who the last one. Can't remember the last one off the top of my head, but it promises to be a pretty good round robin tournament. And in some TNA news, Total Nonstop Action news, of course. Total Nonstop Action officially signed Lei Ying Ling to a contract with the company. She was free agent until recently, of course. But she's now been officially signed to the company. That's pretty much what we got. So now, with all that being said, so that's all I've got for the wrestling wrap-up. What we will do now, of course, with today being Tuesday, November 26th, 2024, I'm going to go ahead and take a look back at this day in Neach history. History! So we're going to start to wrap up here. Let's see. 74, 94, and 2014. All right, so first off, I'm going to head back 50 years ago today. And on this date, 50 years ago today, so I'm going to pull that up. On this date, 50 years ago today, the 20th issue of Haunted on Charlton Comics went on sale on this date back in 1974. So 50 years ago today, the 20th issue of Haunted, which I believe would have been a horror anthology of the time, premiered on this date back in, or went on sale on this date back in 1974. It sold for a quarter, 32 pages, and it was edited by George R. Wildman. So 50 years ago today, the 20th issue of Haunted from Charlton Comics went on sale on this date back in 1974. Moving ahead to 1994, on this date in 1994, 30 years ago today, Diesel defeats Bob Backlund in 8 seconds to become the new WWE champion in New York's Madison Square Garden. In addition to the match becoming the shortest match where a major WWF title changed hands, except for future Money in the Bank cash-ins, this match was the last non-televised match where the WWF champion was defeated for the title. Although several video sharing services had clips from the match uploaded. So basically 30 years ago today, it's essentially the last time that that a major WWE title changed hands at a house show, basically. That's what they're getting at there. And that happened 30 years ago today. And that was just coming off a couple of days after Backlund had actually won the title, I believe, from Bret Hart, if I believe correctly. Yeah. Yeah. So with that, getting ready to move on here. Let's see now. So 1994 is just so nice that we're gonna hit it twice. As also on this date back in 1994, as soon as I pull it up here, a pair of animated shows were canceled on this date back in 1994. Fox Kids Dog City and CBS's The Little Mermaid were both canceled on this date back in 1994. So 30 years ago today, Dog City and The Little Mermaid both aired their final episodes as they were canceled on this date back in 1994, 30 years ago today. So now, and if you haven't already, you guys can help out by liking and sharing the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people to engage. That'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here I've talked about grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions. I'll try to answer questions to the best of my ability. Granted, I know we're coming down to the end of the show, but if you guys have anything you want to add to the conversation, feel free to do so. Finally, on this date, let's see, date I believe I think it might be 2004, or no, 2014. On this date in 2014, as it were, on this date in 2014, which was 10 years ago today, 8 bits Infinite Stratos 2, the 8-bit OVA Infinite Stratus 2 World Purge was released on this date back in 2014. So 10 years ago today, 8 bits Infinite Stratus 2 World Purge was released on this date in ran for, of course, 45 minutes. So anyway, so with that, I thank everybody for being here tonight. So first off, of course, a few other little no, we'll be back here tomorrow. Now tomorrow night will be the final show for this week and for the month of November. As I mentioned to you guys yesterday, we will not be doing shows on Thanksgiving or Friday this week. So give you guys a chance to enjoy your time with your family. But what I might recommend is for Thursday and Friday, if for those who may have friendly TV or have antenna televisions, check out MeTV Tunes because on Thursday from 11:30 Eastern, 11:30 a.m. or from 8 a.m. Eastern, 5 a.m. Pacific to 11:30 p.m. Eastern, 8:30 p.m. Pacific. They're going to be on Thursday. They're going to be doing a rabbits, ducks, and no turkeys marathon featuring um, one Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck cartoons. And then on Friday this week, from the same time period, 8 a.m. Eastern, 5 Pacific to 11:30 p.m. Eastern, 8:30 Pacific. They're going to be doing Black and White Friday, which will be featuring 1930s and early 40s cartoons, black and white cartoons, featuring, of course, Popeye, Betty Boop, and much of, Porky Pig, Davy Duck, much of Leon Schlesinger. So if you guys are looking for something, maybe an alternative watching football or just some good old-fashioned cartoons, there you go. I gave you a couple of ideas there. So, and then, of course, we'll be back here on Sunday. Where I'll be joined by R.J. Carter from Critical Blast. We'll be looking at comics went on sale in April 1940. This week we'll be focusing in on comics that went on sale from Ace Magazines. We'll be focusing on Super Mystery Comics, Volume 1, Issue 1, with such features as Vulcan, Ace's version of Vulcan, the Volcanic Man, as well as Magneto, the Magnetic Man, and Key 13. Of course, we'll be back here tomorrow night with more niche news. If he's got, of course, he's got it up already. We may even do the Indie Comic Showcase if Chris Braley's got it up already by tomorrow. So with that, that's all I got for you tonight, guys. I was hoping to get just over an hour, but we're still just under an hour, so still good to go. So with that, I thank everybody for being here tonight, and I hope to see everybody back here tomorrow. Bye.